aboard!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Woodsman Whack-Off, the series that puts two woodsmen face to face to see which competitor can whack off their log the fastest. In today's episode, we have two competitors that have stretched out their original chassis to the maximum displacement for the folks who like a raw and visceral feel to their chainsaws. Up first, we have the Stihl 038
Magnum.
Originally, it began as the Stihl 038 and was only 61 cc's. Over the years, it kept getting more and more displacement until it reached the title of
Magnum.
With the title,
Magnum.
you got a full 72 cc's and just shy of 5 horsepower. In the green corner, we have Leatherface's original choice for cutting up humans, the Poulan 245a. The 245 started out as the 306A with a measly little 59 cc's of displacement. Well, that wasn't enough for the Sawyer family, so Poulan upped the displacement to a whopping 74 cc's of carpal tunnel inducing vibrations. Today, we get a double dose of Benford as we see if the chainsaw of a madman can keep up with a Magnum-sized creamsicle. Now, let's get it on. All right. Look at Benford there, slicking his hair back. The Benford with the Poulan looks like he's getting in some last-minute tuning. And here we go. We're about to get going. Revving him up, getting ready for the gentle glide down the shaft. Oh, and look at that. The 038 Magnum is really running away with it. Oh. Beat him so bad that he has to go in slow motion in between cuts, just so that he can give plenty of time for the Poulan to get through. All right, here we are on the tug up, and both saws digging in nicely. The Poulan seems to be pulling pretty good, but just chugging away, grinding out that 14 by 14 inch red oak cant. And it makes it through. Both saws are wearing a 20-inch bar with identical out-of-the-box Husqvarna X-Cut chains. And on the vice grip here, we see the same old thing, the 038 really putting the hammer down as swinging that Magnum. And Benford says, to hell with you. And Benford also knows, it ain't the best. So the clear winner is the 038 Magnum, and I don't mean clear, it humiliated the Poulan 245a. It beat it a lot. So let's see what Bodie has to say about it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Alright, thanks. Yeah, there's no replacement for displacement. I mean, there kind of is. It's called technological advancements. Kind of, yeah. So, the Poulan, I believe, so it started out as a 306A. You had the 361, I think, and that was extremely similar to the 245 and the 306, but I don't think that it was the same chassis at all. I think that none of the parts would really match up. But I could be wrong about that. I'm not 100% sure. So, but what I do know is that I have a 306 and I have this 245. And both of them are just... I think the 306 came out in the late 60s. We're talking like 68, something around there, I think. And then a couple years later, around 1970 or possibly 1971, the 245 was introduced, which is so backwards. I mean, it's called a 306. Okay. I can kind of get on No, I can't get on board with that at all. Because 3 cubic inches is 50 cc's. So why is it called a 306? I don't know. It doesn't make no sense whatsoever. The Stihl 038 is closer to making sense because it was originally only 61 cc's. And 65 cc's is 4 cubic inches. So 61 is probably right there at 3.8 cubic inches. Makes sense, right? 038, 3.8 cubic inches, roundabout, at least close. The 306 at 59 cc's makes no sense whatsoever. And even worse, the number got smaller as the displacement got bigger. The 245 is 74 cc's. In no one's mind does this make sense. I mean, why would it be called a 245? I guess possibly 4.5, maybe 4.5 cubic inches. I don't know. I don't care. Anyways, let's move on from the awkward, stupid naming conventions that so many of these saws have. Honestly, I mean, I love it whenever you can go, I got a wild thing. Done. I know what you're talking about. I like naming conventions like that. Really. I also don't mind the rancher naming conventions. Got a 55 rancher, 450 rancher, 455, 460. It makes sense. Anyways. But these two saws at hand right here, clearly they are extremely similar in displacement. There's probably a good solid, I don't know when the Stihl 038 came out, but I think it was early 80s, possibly late 70s. I'm not sure. But there's probably about 10 to 15 years of technology advancement between the two saws. And that's a big deal because they were learning a lot back then. They were learning a lot. But one thing that I've noticed with the older Poulans, and I mean, pretty much all of them, honestly, across the years, is as good as they can be. They pale in comparison to Husqvarna and Stihl. They do. I mean, like, I love my Poulan high tops. I love them. But, in actual numbers and reality, were they as good? No, they weren't. They weren't as good. They were very good saws and very fun to run. But, like, you wouldn't be able to compare. Well, like the Poulan 50cc high top, the Poulan 3000. Honestly, that it just can't even be compared to 346 XP. It's just so much better. But I know the 346 XP came along at the very end of that reign of Poulans. I get it. But at some point you got to understand to yourselves that Poulan, as good as some of them were, and as much as I like them, I really, really like them, they, on a professional level, they couldn't keep up. They never could. Sorry. I've got a 5200, and that thing pulls well. It's great. It pulls really well. But they were selling that at the same time as the Husqvarna 2100 was being sold. I think they were selling that at the exact same time as the 281 as well. So if you want to talk about CCs and stuff, all I'm trying to say is be realistic about it. Whenever you're going, man, that's an awesome saw. It is. It's an awesome saw. It's fun. I like it. but Poulan never, ever kept up in power and speed. They never did. Now, where they did keep up with was longevity. Stuff like the 3400. I will rag on the 3400 all day long. I don't like that saw. It is underpowered, slow, low RPM, little booger. It's like a pontoon. Plus, it's too heavy for what it is. I don't like the 3400 at all. But they were dependable. Those things fired up. You could leave them sitting on the shelf for a couple years and crank them over. And they run good as long as you don't have the ethanol, guys. And back in the day, nothing had ethanol. Mm-hmm. That's my actual first name. Don't go calling me that, though. I haven't been called Jason for so many years. Anyways, the 038, honestly, I was really impressed with it. Whenever I ran it, you could really pull on that thing, and it wasn't bogging down. It was good saw. I mean, I really liked it. A little bit portly, but good saw. And yeah, obviously it handled its business on that 245. So a lot of people say with that 245 that a lot of people say that the 306 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre chainsaw. And I got a video that I need to get on the ball and do that is directly comparing those two saws. But the 306 is not the Texas Chainsaw Massacre saw. It frickin' is not. Okay, and so I'll leave the rest of that for a future video where I discuss nothing but that. But the 245 as a whole, and running it and everything, it is staggeringly disappointing. It's just serious. I mean, it really is. If you're wanting this because it's cool, then great. It's cool. It is. It's cool. And it sounds good. It's got this really great gravel gargling sound to it. It's cool. Feels pretty good in the hand. Like most of those old Poulans, they have really terrible recoils. Recoil starters are just, they suck so bad. But the saw is really cool. However, its power is dismal for it being a 74cc saw. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. I bet you that thing would get its ass handed to it by a 450 Rancher. I mean, and I'm not just talking about, a lot of you guys will put in the comments. Now, you'll say things like this, and I get it. You want to be part of the conversation. You want to be heard. And I'm with you. I like that, and there's no problem. You say whatever you want, okay? Just don't be degrading and stuff. That's fine. But a lot of people will fall back on the idea that, it's not fast, but it's got torque for days. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I mean, I just ran it in 14-inch red oak with a 20-inch bar. And whenever I was dogging in, it kept stumbling. It couldn't recover. It was, The only way they will pull a larger bar is if you baby it through the cut, which that's fine. But here's the deal. What I think I'm seeing a lot whenever people talk about a saw like this, or they talk about the old McCullochs. And now the old McCullochs were better. Absolutely. Hands down. But whenever people are talking about those saws, either they get caught up in the nostalgia of it and it's fun, it's enjoyable. I like them, you know. Or they haven't ran anything better. Okay, whenever you haven't ran anything better, like whenever I first got my Johnson Red 2255, which is a 455 Rancher, I got that saw. I thought it was the bee's knees. I thought, oh my God, this thing's amazing. This is the big dog. I'm bringing out the big dog today. You know, whenever you haven't ran anything better, then yeah, it feels amazing in your hand. It's great. But I've gotten to this point. I own a 592. Okay, I own a 3120. I have owned a 2100. I've owned a 660 clone, but I've owned one. I've owned the Homelight 550, which is like 84 cc's or something like that, 88. I've owned some big, powerful, fast as lightning saws. So my experience level in making my jaw drop now, it gets harder and harder to do. And whenever I ran that 245, I enjoyed it. It's a good saw, okay? But in reality, I'm going, damn, 74 cc's, huh? I mean, this is absolutely pathetic. Have I drilled it in enough? You know, I mean, I could put that saw possibly up against a Husqvarna 435 and it lose. And that's a stretch. Honestly, that is a stretch, and I need to chill on that. But yeah, they're just not fast, and they're not torquey either. That's the big takeaway here. They're not torquey either. So, but that doesn't mean that they don't have a place. They definitely have a place. They're freaking cool. And I enjoy running them. Not everything has to be fast. I just kind of have a hard-on for drilling it in. You know, the folks that are like saying, oh, it's a torque monster and all this stuff. No, it's not. You're full of shit. It's not. I have it. I run it. It runs good. It's a good running saw, you know, and I like the saw. I mean, it looks stellar. I love the way it looks, but it can't even, I mean, compared to what a 74cc saw should be, it would grovel on the ground and just, try to touch the hem of the cloak of, say, a 372 XP. You know? I mean, I am certain that my Poulan 54cc high top, the Poulan Pro 335, I am certain that chainsaw would cut faster than it, and it would pull a longer bar better than it. I mean, everything. Better than the 245. You know what? Maybe that'll be the next whack off. You know, and maybe I'll be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'm fine with being wrong. But, yeah, it's just, it has the power range of a 50cc saw. A good, strong, good stout 50cc saw. And it has the RPM range of a lawnmower. There you go. All right, so the Stihl 038 Magnum is cool. I like to joke about the Magnum stuff, and I love calling Stihls creamsicles. They're creamsicles. They're orange and white. But, yeah, there we go. Got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe, as I always do. I mean, you know, I'm getting harder to reach for you guys that are watching my channel. You may be, I just got messaged today, fella trying to friend me on Facebook, and he couldn't do it. Well, that's because I've just been getting a lot of people reaching out, which is a great thing. It is a great thing. It's really great. But I can only take so much messaging, it's, and so if you find that I'm harder to reach these days, if you're like wanting to get a hold of me and stuff, it's only going to get worse. I'm going to have to distance myself more and more, because there's just only so many hours in the day. And as much as I want to know and befriend everybody, which I really do, I really want to know and befriend everybody, I can't. I have my personal life, guys, and I know you guys understand that, but it's juggling back and forth between, and honestly, it's just a handful of people. Let's say 2 people a day, 2 new people a day. Probably not even that much, honestly. But, 1 new person a day reaches out and contacts you. That's 7 people in a week. And then that is, they stay there, right? Like Eric Salyer, right? I got to know you early on. We're still talking, okay? And, whenever you pile on all the new people, honestly, it's probably only 1 or 2 new people per week, honestly. But it gets to the level where, okay, before I started this channel, I had 7 people in my life that I contacted. And you know what I mean? I had like 7 people that I regularly stayed in contact with. Ish. Now I've got 35. And I'm like, ooh, that's a lot of people to be constantly talking to. You see what I'm saying? So even though it really isn't much, but over the past year or so that I've started gaining popularity, I've gained more friends, which on one hand is amazing. It's great. But on the other hand, it becomes like, oh, Jesus. I'll be sitting in my chair and my phone's going ding, ding, ding. And my wife's like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, chainsaw folks, you know what I mean? So if you message me, and I don't get back to you, just don't be like, oh, Bodie don't like me. I mean, there's some folks out there that I don't like. Sorry, if you put political crap all over the place, I am going to delete you. I don't have time for that. I will not spend my energy on political bullshit. I hate it. I hate political bullshit. Both sides of it. I know you think you got me figured out, and, maybe you do. I don't care. I don't care. I don't. So, yeah. And I hate it whenever I get looped in on somebody because of chainsaws, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this is great. Chainsaw, cool. And it turns out to be like 10% chainsaw and 90% political mumbo jumbo. Like, what? Why would you do that? I don't even... Why? I chose to like this because of the chainsaw, but then all of a sudden it's not chainsaw. It's just political mumbo jumbo. And it's all over our media nowadays. God, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I do remember whenever politics were just not that big of a deal. You voted, you tried to do what you could. You had some people over here that, Jimmy's got a master's degree and he really thinks he's hoity-toity and uppity because he keeps up with politics, and stuff. And you had the Jimmys of the world that kept up with politics. And you're like, whatever, Jimmy likes that, but, just tell him to shut up and he'll shut up and move on. You had that stuff, but there was in small quantities. Now what you got is toothless, I still can't do it. Look at it. Toothless Tony, right? Toothless Tony has a middle school education and he lives off of a government check, you know, because he's milking the system as best he can, right? He doesn't even vote and hasn't voted for the past 30 years. And he still wants to tell you which direction your vote should go to. I'm like, oh my God, when did the toothless Tonys of the world get so heavily into politics? What the hell? And it's like, hey, you may be wrong, you may be right, I may be wrong, I might be right. I don't care. I just don't even want to talk about it, especially not with you, Toothless Tony. You get me? It's like, you're Toothless Tony. I don't care if you think anything about healthcare or anything. I'm not going to value your opinion. Because you're Toothless Tony. I don't know any Toothless Tony. I just threw it out there because it's funny, okay? But you get my drift. It's like, I vote. I vote once every 4 years. And sometimes sooner than that if we've got a local election that my wife drags me out to. Well, we got to vote for this one. And I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, she gives me good sex, so I vote, you know, but I don't care. I don't know why so many people are so into that. It's an odd thing to me. It's very odd to me that anybody would be so into politics that their screen name would be based off of it. You know, I'm like, if you're one of those guys and you're watching my channel right now, please understand I want everybody to vote and have opinions and stuff like that. But man, whenever politics become your hobby, you need to get some better hobbies. I mean, and that's what it is to so many people. Politics are their hobbies. And it's just like, no, take up fishing and talk about fishing, you know? Because if you're the guy that bombards everyone with fishing, right? Then most people, they're going to be like, oh, God, Toothless Tony, he only talks about fishing. But whenever you're the guy that talks about politics or religion, sexual preferences, you know, if you're the guy that won't shut up about those types of issues, it's very polarizing. I don't care if you think that Trump's an idiot. I don't care if you think that Joe Biden's an idiot. Shut up. I don't care if you love fishing. But that one's easy to let roll off the shoulders and be like, huh, Toothless Tony, he loves fishing. I mean, it gets kind of annoying, you know, but he ain't doing nobody any harm. But politics, religion, sexual preferences offends people. And it's like, shut up. I don't want to hear that shit. So, understand that. Maybe I'm helping you out right now. Maybe one of my viewers right now is addicted to politics. And if you are, know that you need to put that shit down. Do your duty, go out and vote, and then drop it. Shut up about it. We don't want to hear it. Cool? All right. Subscribers are running, dropping like flies. I have no audience left. Everyone's like, that guy's offensive. He's an asshole. And he thinks that whatever political party is something. I don't care.